Hello, this Excel video tip is going to be talking about the IFERROR function. The IFERROR function will allow us to check to see if an error would return, and if it does, it will put an alternate, whatever you want it to, rather than the error. Hopefully this will make a little more sense as we talk about a specific example of where that might be. To help us illustrate this, I've just mocked up some data. I've got my data set here with what's the list of stores, what region they might be in, and what their sales are. And then I've got my dashboard over here where I want to be able to pick 3 different stores and have it use a VLOOKUP function to pull in their sales and then total that up. So right now you can see I've got a VLOOKUP function that's looking for this store within the data set and returning the sales. And it works fine, but what happens if I pick store 4? It's fine. It changes out and it updates automatically. What happens if I choose store 11? You'll see that it returns an error, and now my sum function, which just sums up those sales, it errors out because it can't add an error within a sum or whatever the other function might be in your instance. And if I was using this on a dashboard where I've just got one store or whatever, for whatever reason, this comes back an error and throws my whole total off. And what I want to be able to do is, if for some reason I can't find this store within the group, I'm going to assume they have 0 sales. And then I can return 0. So the way that you do that is by using an IFERROR function. And what I found the easiest way to do is get the formula how you want it, and we're going to nest this VLOOKUP formula within the IFERROR function. So what I'll do is I'll go to this function and click right before VLOOKUP and simply type IFERROR and open the parentheses. And you'll see that this function is asking for a value, and then what's the value if there's an error? Well, the value would be my VLOOKUP function. So that's the first part of this function. So I'm going to click right to the end of the function and put a comma. You'll see now it highlights the value if error. And this would be where, if for whatever reason this returns an error, what do you want it to put instead of the error? And in this case, since I'm assuming if it's not there, it's 0 sales, I can just put a 0 in there and close my parentheses and hit enter. Now if I drag that formula down to those 3, now it's what it does now is I can't find store 11. I'm going to assume they have 0 sales. Puts in 0, and it can still sum the sales for my total here, and my dashboard stays intact. I found this to be very helpful for a lot of times if you have a dashboard, and depending on what the user selects, it may come up with they can't find it. And rather than showing a bunch of errors where the person may think that the dashboard is broken, you can use this if error to return whatever you want it to be instead of that error message. And you can have this be a number, a text, whatever you want it to be. So let's say instead of a 0, I wanted it to put error every time I have that error. You can do that, and I'll drag it down, and it puts error. And it'll still sum up correctly because it's not an error, and it counts text as 0. So that's the IFERROR function. I use this a lot just when I'm formatting things or putting together dashboards just to help with avoid any possible confusion. And that's today's Excel video tip. Have a great day. Thanks.